Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Rentz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at some mandatory minicamp news that if you're rocking with the silver and black, if you're an NFL fan out there, you probably want to know. Then we got the top storylines to watch because unlike OTAs, this is mandatory minicamp. Different tone setter, different practice roles, and we're going to break all of that down for you guys on today's episode. So in terms of minicamp, what the no's are, Raiders practice from June 11th to June 13th. So you only get 3 days practice. 10 hours a day is the maximum that you are allowed to have for practice. Now think about this though. You're only allowed 24 hours over those 3 days. So if you go for 10, do the math. You got to split it up here. Physicals are going to be on Monday for the silver and black. No practice here. So this is just them going in, meeting with the doctors, meeting with the trainers, making sure everything's ready to go. Definitely a few players I'm going to keep my eyes on, like Colt Miller, Jackson Powers, Johnson, Michael Gallup. A lot of these guys have been missing some time here from practice. Keep an eye out for them. You're allowed 2 practices totaling 3.5 hours on field per day. Second practice, which is going to be June 12th for the Raiders, that's going to be limited to walkthrough activities only. To make sure that you're staying up to date on all things going on around the Raiders, I'm talking minicamp. We're going to be breaking down if there's any free agency stuff going on, but a lot of minicamp updates. I come right back from my buddy's bachelor party, and I'm telling you this right now, I'm going to hit the ground running. So make sure you don't miss anything. Turn on that notification bell and hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 170,000 subscribers. Let's get a little bit wild here. Coming up, let's get into the minicamp storylines to follow. I put together 5 of them for y'all, and I'm going to be real with you. Just being real. It's going to be a lot of things repeating, but it's the things that are repeating is because I still don't feel like I've gotten the answers that I'm looking for a lot of these storylines. So the number one storyline is going to be this, the quarterback battle. It's going to be Aiden O'Connell. It's going to be Gardner Minshew. But maybe I'm a sucker for saying this out loud, and maybe it doesn't matter, but I'm telling you this right now. Mandatory is a different word to me, and I'm going to be paying a lot more closer attention to mandatory minicamp. It's also in a shorter time frame, that 3 days. You got to get a lot more answers in that 3 days. Who takes the first snap? If Gardner Minshew is the quarterback that takes that first snap at mandatory minicamp, that's a big deal to me. AOC got the first snap at Raiders OTAs. Both quarterbacks have been pressing thus far. We've heard it from coaches. We've heard it from reporters based on things that I've been told as well. Both quarterbacks are neck and neck right now in this battle. But if the first snap does go to Aiden O'Connell, to me, that's also going to tell me this, that he's got the foot up on that quarterback battle. Like in the NFL, in life in general, you can't play this little boy game of, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. If Aiden O'Connell's been the better quarterback, he better get the first snap at freaking mandatory minicamp. If Gardner Minshew's been better, he better get the first freaking snap at mandatory minicamp. If it's a tie, sure, maybe you stick with Aiden O'Connell. But my point is, I am going to read into it, as should all of you. Let's get into the next storyline coming up here on the show, and it's going to be around the offensive line help. It doesn't matter if you don't win in the trenches. Let me say it again. I don't care if we have Devontae Adams, Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers. I don't care who we have as a skill position player. If you can't win up front, it does not matter. And the offensive line health right now for this team, it does. It scares me. Are we going to see Colt Miller? Are we going to see Jackson Powers Johnson? Because rumor is Colt Miller is dealing with a shoulder injury, and he only started 11 games last season, played in 13, but again, it was like a backup reserve, please don't put me in the game, but I'll go out there and suit up because I'm a captain, was not ready to go health-wise, and now you're kind of still dealing with this injury here. Jackson Powers Johnson, he left practice early with an unspecified injury on May 21st. I will say I was told on June 4th on Tuesday that it's a soft tissue injury. I was told that it's not 100%, but believed to be a hamstring injury for a player that dealt with some soft tissue stuff last season, some concussions. It's not a concussion. That's the good news. But, if the season started today, right? Season started today, or let's talk about first day of minicamp, June 11th. What does that Raiders offensive line look like? Because with all the players that we have pictured here for our depth chart, I have confidence in the guys that are pictured. Outside of that, though, I do get nervous. Is Delmar Glaze ready to go right away as a rookie? Do I want Jordan Meredith out there? No. Cody Whitehair is getting up there in age. Good backup. Don't really want him out there as a starting option. Then you got Andres Pete. Yeah, you signed him. Still got some injury concerns. I would have some confidence in him. But, let's play a little bit of a game here because these are the games that I play with Jeremy Weird. We talk about our Madden simulations a lot of times, and we're like, what happens if this guy gets injured? What do we do? Where do we go from there? Let's play a game right now. The season starts today, week 1, against the Chargers. If Colton Miller and Jackson Powers-Johnson are both out, what would the Raiders starting offensive line be? What would it be? Because what if this injury lingers? What if it pops up again? Bottom line is, I want you to be a little bit creative. This is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. So scrolling down, give me your answer after this YouTube ad break. My answer. My starting offensive line without Colton Miller and Jackson Powers-Johnson would be Andres Pete at left tackle. I believe Cody Whitehair would end up playing left guard just because of his ties with Getsy and offers you a little bit of that flexibility. For the Raiders this season, they're going to try to keep this right side of the offensive line the exact same. Andre James, Dylan Parham, Thayer Munford. This is what the Raiders starting offensive line would be without Colton Miller and Jackson Powers-Johnson. Coming up next here on the show, we're going to get into the Raiders' third storyline that the entire nation needs to be following during mandatory minicamp because it's mandatory. If it's mandatory for the players, I think it also should be mandatory for the nation out there. Now, I will say this. It's also mandatory to get your dad something special for Father's Day. And, growing up as a kid, my dad used to always say when I would tell him, hey, you get a Father's Day. Why don't I get a day? He's like, every day's your day. And he'd always hit me with, hey, I brought you into this world, and I can take you out of this world. Well, your dad, even if he's a little bit older than you, he might still be able to take you out of this world if you don't get him something special for Father's Day. Even if they tell you, I don't need anything. Well, you know what? Maybe you're going to a Raiders game this season. You want to get your dad, I don't know, Raiders tickets would be pretty dope. Also get him a Raiders t-shirt. Maybe get him a jersey. Take a picture while you're there and put it in a frame. I think when you get these type of gifts, they last a lifetime. And when you get a gift that lasts a lifetime, the memories, they stay forever. So go to chatsports.com/RaidersDad. That link's going to be available to you all down in the comments. I'm losing my voice. Down in the description of today's show, chatsports.com/RaidersDad. I don't know what's going on right now. My voice, I hope we can make it through this. Storyline number 3. We're going to be looking at the rookies and which rookies or UDFAs do they start to stand out. Because you don't see so much of what's happening at minicamp, again, or at OTAs because, you'll get as much media coverage. For minicamp, you're going to get a lot more media coverage. So which rookies end up looking like the real deal? Which rookies look like that they did that extra homework and that they're prepared? Right now, the rookies that I've been hearing have been standing out. Brock Bowers at the tight end position / wide receiver. Dylan Laube at running back. Trey Taylor at safety. Tommy Eichenberg at linebacker. These have been the rookies that have been standing out. For the UDFAs, Carter Bradley does sound like he has a little bit of an edge right now on Anthony Brown. Amari Gaynor, Ron Stone, they're fighting right now for a defensive end linebacker spot or more of an edge. And then Jaquan Shepard. Jaquan Shepard's physicality at 6'2", 210 pounds, I do think really, really helps him potentially have an opportunity to make this 53-man roster because one of the things that's been stated is just how much the Raiders want physical players to help them out on special teams. Let's go to storyline number 4 here. I got to get a sip of my beer. I'm losing my voice somehow. I need some Mitches down below to make me through this. Who's the other cornerback for the Raiders? The reason why I'm throwing this question out here is because we know Nate Hobbs. He was called one of the keys of the defense on Tuesday by the Raiders defensive back coach and cornerback coach Ricky Manning. But he said he's going to play in the slot. Jack Jones is going to be the other outside corner. That tells me we're still looking for that outside corner. And is it going to be Jacorian Bennett? Is it going to be DeCamerion Richardson? Is it going to be Brandon Faison? There's a lot of other options that this team could go with. Now, maybe it's MJ Devonshire, right? Maybe they decide to kick out Sam Webb. I don't know what it is exactly, but the Raiders need to figure out a question, and I hope that they start to paint that picture of who's that other outside corner. Now, let's play a little bit of a fun game here. Who do you think is going to be that starting outside corner next to Jack Jones with Nate Hobbs? Is it going to be Jacorian Bennett, type 0? If you think it's going to be the rookie DeCamerion Richardson, type 25, If you think it's going to be Brandon Faison, type 31. If you think it's going to be somebody else, let me know with an other down below. For me personally, the starting cornerback, I'm kind of hoping it's the Camryn Richardson out of all those options, because when I think of upside, I think of who do I think has the most upside? I think it's the rookie who's built the way that Richardson is built, who's got the athletic ability, but I'm hoping that the Raiders sign Xavier Howard. I'm hoping that the Raiders sign somebody like a Stephon Gilmore. I want this team to be able to add an extra talented piece to that defensive backfield. Not because I don't have confidence in those other three players. It's because I'm trying to win right now. And if the Raiders are serious about winning right now, I think if you have the opportunity to go get Gilmore or go get X, you make it happen. The fifth and final storyline to look at here is, will the Raiders add talent? We just talked about Gilmore and X. You have salary cap space. Again, at the time that I am making this video, the Raiders have not gone out and signed anybody. They got $34.1 million in salary cap space. No extensions have been given. You have the ability to go out and get somebody. And to me, these are my top 10 Raiders free agent targets as it stands right now. Now, have them ranked based on need, have them ranked based on how much money it's going to end up costing you. But, if you can add an edge rusher like a Ngakoue, a cheap corner like an Adoree Jackson, or you go to the next slide here, Emmanuel Ogbah would be the number one edge rusher I would look at. The Raiders have money to not only give extensions to guys like Robert Spillane, Trevon Merrick. They also can restructure contracts like Devontae Adams. But, you could go out and get an Ogbah. You go out and get an Xavier Howard. You add Emmanuel Ogbah and Xavier Howard to your defense, and you're totally set in a totally different spot here for this Raiders defense. You're a hell of a defense now. You make those type of moves, and that goes the extra step, and the fact that you do it before mandatory minicamp tells me that you did actually think that it was a pretty big need for this team. So those are going to be the top storylines that I'm looking for here for the Las Vegas Raiders. To make sure you don't miss anything going on around this team, though, seriously, May, June, July. I know we're in June now, and I know not a lot, every single person's still putting out content every single day, but I promise you this, we're bringing you that commitment to excellence. If I'm going to ask you all to have commitment to excellence, we're going to bring it here as well. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you don't miss anything around the silver and black.